Hey everybody, so today I just wanted to speak a little bit more about the difference of disordered eating perhaps to an eating disorder. It's important to understand that the two are quite different and an eating disorder should be diagnosed by a specialist. However, there is a plethora of information out there to suggest that those that do exhibit issues around disordered eating can subsequently then go on to get an eating disorder. So what are some signs to look out for? Number one, an obsession with weight control. So anyone that is highly concerned with their weight on the scale and exhibits one of the following. So this can be reaching a specific weight goal. It can be when she beats herself up about not being able to get to a certain weight or a specific look. If she maybe, obviously I'm saying she, this can also be guys as well, experiences disproportionate reactions in the changes to her weight or lack of change. Also, if she creates very strict guidelines for herself in terms of what she does in relation to the scale. Also, if she feels she's got to get to the gym every day, and if she doesn't, she gets distressed by not being able to do that, and she does start getting like mood and anxiety if she cannot make the gym. Also, she might resist rest days even when recommended to, because of the fear of gaining weight if she doesn't go to the gym. She might also push herself to do more exercise despite recommendations of a coach or a friend or a family, feeling the need to always be in the gym and kind of really just being married to the scale. But it's also important to check that eating disorders and disordered eating can happen to anybody of any sex, race, age, ethnicity, background. It can happen to anybody, so it's important to not have any prejudices about what a eating disorder or disordered eating can look like. So red flag number 2 is chronic dieting and caloric restriction. So if you've ever checked or heard of someone's dieting history, that they like to jump from one quick fix to another, they might be a serial yo-yo dieter, they may have yo-yo dieted more than they actually maintain their a steady weight, that's a sign. That is a sign of disordered eating. And despite the fact that severely restricting calories, fasting, using cleansers, using detoxes, using fasting shakes, food replacements, it's very much normalised by the media and by gym culture. However, this is actually disordered eating. And other ways this can also show up is villainising some calorically dense foods. So being called, when we label things good or bad, and those things that we label bad are being off limits, we can't have them, it's a cheat. And they obsess about nutrient-dense foods or low-calorie foods that are going to kind of like fill them up, make them feel like they've got less calories in them. Another thing of this can also be orthorexia, so those ladies that are obsessed with just eating clean because they feel that this is going to bring them some kind of superior health benefit and feel pure. But also it can lead to people cutting out food groups entirely, and this is without any medical backing in order to do so. And it can also be those people looking for superfoods, miracle quick fixes. This is very much still under number 2. So red flag number 3. So if someone feels out of control around food and they feel shame around their eating behaviours. So this can be anything like, a cycle of binging, restricting and repeat. And this can be anything where going all out at a period of time on loads of food, they feel epic guilt, so the next day they then completely restrict, and it's kind of a repeated cycle. They might be people that express that they feel out of control around food, like on a nighttime or a weekend. So that can also be something to look out for if that's when you feel that you are struggling the most. And if you regularly comment on yourself as being bad, so like say you go to work Monday morning, meet up with Sandra of the coffee machine, and you say, oh, I was really bad this weekend, I've totally overindulged, I've skipped the gym, like jumped on the scales this morning and my weights, sorry, my hair's just really annoying me, I've just dried it and it's really shocking. I've not lost any weight this week and I feel really bad. Or that I've had a couple of foods that, oh God, that I've been really unhealthy this weekend, I've eaten X, Y, and Z. That is also a sign of disordered eating. And I know that it's so common because we all actually do this, but it's something to really start being aware of. And subsequently falling into that as well is binge eating. So this is when you eat an abnormally amount of a large abnormal amount of food within a quite short period of time, but you don't necessarily do much to then go and burn it off. So it's not like you're going to go and purge or make yourself sick afterwards. But you will feel real intense feelings of guilt. And this can be shame, self-deprecation, and it can actually quickly progress into a diagnosed eating disorder. So it would actually be BED, binge eat disorder. Red flag number 4 is losing your period or amenorrhea. And this can be most predominantly in ladies that have previously had periods. So they're not suffering or weren't suffering from a lack of period until like recently. So, you know, your period might become irregular or it might have stopped recently. And it's basically a sure sign way of seeing that your body is either under too much stress or too much of a caloric restriction. And it basically doesn't have the energy that it needs in order to function properly or optimally. And reproduction then gets shut off because it's not deemed necessarily as an essential function when you can't even fuel yourself. So just be aware of your food intake, that if this is happening, or if you've perhaps noticed this, that your food could be too low, you could be under too much stress. But it's also important to know, like me, I don't generally have many periods. I have coil fitted and I've been on contraceptives since too long. So I've never really had that. So for me, I wouldn't really know, and it never really concerns me in that way, but it does slightly concern me in terms of the length of period I've now gone without really actually letting my cycle go into full swing. I think sounds like a bit of a nipper. So yeah, just be aware of that. If you do have usually regular periods, just be aware of any irregularities or stopping or anything that seems slightly amiss, because that could be a telltale sign. So, number 5 is compensating for calories consumed or workouts missed. I used to do this so much, and I'm so much more aware of it now when I do kind of like start to fall into that pattern. So this is where we might use exercise as a punishment for the food that we consume, or to try and actually earn foods. So have like a super hard gym session, do extra cardio just so that you can have potentially like a cheat meal that night. So if you are one of those people that have a tendency to say, you know, I'm going to go extra hard in the gym tonight to make sure that, you know, I can burn off the foods that I ate last night, or to make space for the food I'm going to have today or tomorrow, or exercising to make room to have a certain food. This is a compensatory behaviour, and it's something to be very much aware of. Also, anyone that maybe is using cleanse juices, liquids, whatever the BS, or purging with anything like using lactative abuse, and also making yourself sick, because that's also then a prerequisite sign to towards a BED, binge eating disorder. It is dangerous. It is also important to know and notice that even those in the health and fitness industry are eliciting these signs. So one of these 5 red flags, or maybe more, there will be people in the fitness industry that these do have alarm bells for, and perhaps they don't always want to admit it, or are sometimes blindsided to it. But it's really, really important that we do start taking note of these these patterns and these behaviors that are actually disordered eating, because it is just becoming so normalized now, where we do all these things to our body because so-and-so and X, Y, and Z people are doing it and condoning it and coaching people in that manner, but it's not right. So these are the red flags. And just to go on a quick recap, so number 1 is obsession with weight control. Number 2 is chronic dieting and caloric restriction. Number 3 is feeling shame around food and feeling out of control. Number 4 was irregular periods / amenorrhea in ladies that would have usually a regular cycle. And number 5 is compensating for calories consumed or workouts missed. If you've got any more questions whatsoever, drop me a comment below and I'd love to speak more to you.